And the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has accredited 121 domestic and international organizations to observe the Anambra State governorship election. Now the details of the news. The Enugu State Governor Peter Mbah has officially dumped the People's Democratic Party PDP for the All Progressives Congress APC. He made the declaration during a statewide broadcast to the people of the state today. The governor defended his decision to switch camp, saying the move was necessitated to connect Enugu State to the central government. Mbah also commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's policy, saying the state has enjoyed massive support under the president. Elected on the platform of the People's Democratic Party PDP, Governor Peter Mbah moved to the All Progressives Congress APC with House of Assembly members, councillors, chairmen of councils, and others. His exit from the PDP will be followed by that of Bayelsa State Governor Doe Diri, whose defection, it was learnt, had been finalized. Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborowori and Akwa Ibom State Governor Umo Eno moved to the ruling party with all their officials and appointees earlier this year. The Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, has expressed deep sorrow over the death of Reverend Ukpai, who passed away on October 6, 2025, at the age of 80. In a condolence statement signed by its president, Archbishop Daniel Oko, CAN described the late Ukpai as a towering figure in the church in Nigeria, whose 6-decade-long ministry transformed countless lives through evangelism, teaching, and charity. CAN noted that Reverend Ukpai's unwavering commitment to the work of God and his passion for the salvation of souls left an enduring legacy within the Nigerian church and beyond. According to the statement, Archbishop Oko, on behalf of the leadership and members of the Christian Association of Nigeria, extended heartfelt condolences to Reverend Mrs. Philomena Omar Ukpai, the Ukpai family, the Ukpai Evangelistic Association, and all Christians in Nigeria and abroad who were touched by his ministry. The Independent National Electoral Commission INEC says it is committed to conducting a disability-inclusive election during the upcoming gubernatorial polls in Anambra State. The INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner in Anambra State, Dr. Elizabeth Agu, made the pledge at a stakeholders' engagement on preparedness for a disability-inclusive governorship election held in Awka. The event, which was organized by a non-governmental organization, TAF Africa, was aimed at ensuring that stakeholders such as the police, civil defense, civil societies, and the media are abreast of provisions of the electoral law on how to relate with persons with disabilities during and after the election. Dr. Agu said efforts were on by the Commission, that's INEC, to ensure that such class of persons participate not just as voters, but also work as electoral officials during the election. The Resident Electoral Commissioner said INEC would deploy disability assistive tools, including Braille for the visually impaired, magnifying glasses for people with albinism, as well as Form EC30 for the hearing impaired to aid them during the exercise. Identifying voter apathy as the biggest threat to the election, Dr. Agu also called on the people of Anambra State to come out and vote the candidates of their choice, instead of sitting back at home and concluding that the process had been predetermined. Comrade Ugochukwu Okeke, Chairman, Joint National Association of Persons with Disabilities, or JUNAPID, in Anambra State, commended INEC for efforts to run an all-inclusive election. The federal government has urged Nigerians to adopt proper hand-washing habits as a daily routine, describing it as a vaccine against sanitation and hygiene-related diseases. During a media briefing to mark the 2025 Global Hand Washing Day in Abuja, Professor Joseph Utsev, the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, described hand hygiene as a cost-effective and life-saving practice. He said the event was aimed at mobilizing national action to promote hand washing with soap at critical times and strengthen hygiene behavior across communities. The minister said hand washing with soap remains an affordable and accessible do-it-yourself vaccine against sanitation and hygiene-related diseases such as diarrhea, cholera, typhoid fever, and pneumonia. He said it is the first line of defense in preventing outbreaks and reducing the toll of pandemics, as demonstrated during the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic. The minister, Professor Uzev, explained that as part of activities marking this year's Global Hand Washing Day, the National Task Group on Sanitation will lead a month-long campaign across electronic and social media platforms. The minister urged all Nigerians, governments, communities, and individuals alike to take responsibility for safeguarding public health. You are watching TV Sapientia on Star Times Channel 260. The news continues shortly after this time out. Please don't go away. Welcome back to the rest of the Sapientia News Bulletin at noon. My name is Joe Igbo. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASUU, has dismissed the federal government's No Work, No Pay directive, insisting that the union will not be intimidated by threats. ASUU President Chris Piwuna said the union remained united and will not succumb to what he described as the government's attempt to divide the academic community. Piwuna maintained that all academic bodies, such as the National Association of Medical and Dental Academics and the Congress of Nigerian University Academics, were standing together in support of the strike action. He said Sasanu, NASU, Polytechnic and Colleges of Education are in solidarity with ASUU concerning the strike action. The ASUU president advised the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, to focus on resolving the ongoing disputes instead of issuing threats. Earlier yesterday, the federal government directed universities to implement the No Work, No Pay policy against lecturers participating in the ongoing 2-week warning strike. The federal government insisted that all pending demands by ASUU had been addressed and that the strike was unnecessary. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) has faulted the federal government's No Work, No Pay stance over the ongoing strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASUU), describing it as insensitive and misleading. NLC President Joe Ajaero said in Abuja yesterday that the industrial action by university lecturers was forced on them by the government's refusal to implement agreements freely entered into with the union. Ajaero noted that the public education system continues to suffer from chronic underfunding and the government's failure to honor commitments made to academic workers. The NLC leader criticized the government's resort to threats rather than dialogue, describing the No Work, No Pay policy as an unproductive form of grandstanding. The NLC reaffirmed its full solidarity with ASUU and other unions in the tertiary education sector, urging the federal government to abandon its threat and immediately address the issues outlined in the negotiated agreements. The National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) has announced Thursday, November 6, 2025, as the official date for the passing out ceremony of the 2024 Batch C/1 Corps members. According to a statement signed by the NYSC Director of Information and Public Relations, Caroline Mbah, the management approved a low-key event to mark the end of the service year for the batch, which began its orientation course from October 23 to November 12, 2024. The statement noted that activities leading to the ceremony would commence with job advisory and counseling sessions for Corps members across various local government areas nationwide. It added that the process would also include the signing and issuance of final clearance letters by zonal inspectors to the outgoing Corps members. Mbah said the Director General of the NYSC, Brigadier General Lakunle Nafiu, wishes all the Corps members passing out, including the monitoring officers on assignment, a successful winding up and passing out exercise. The federal government has announced that it will disburse 300,000 naira interest-free loan each to 21,000 Nigerians to cushion the impact of floods. The government also said it had spent over 300 billion naira to reach more than 8.1 million households under its conditional cash transfer program. The Minister of State for Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Reduction, Dr. Yusuf Sununu, announced this yesterday in Abuja during the commemoration of this year's International Day for Disaster Risk Reduction organized by the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. Sununu said the loan will address the issue of dry season farming to mitigate the effect of flooding in Nigeria. The Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has accredited 121 domestic and international organizations to observe the Anambra State governorship election. The development was contained in an announcement published by the Commission yesterday. Accredited foreign observers include the British High Commission, the European Union, and the High Commission of Canada, among others. On the domestic front, organizations such as Yaga Africa Initiative, the Electoral Hub, and the Center for Democracy and Development have been cleared to monitor the exercise. The observers are expected to assess the conduct of the election and report on its transparency, credibility, and compliance with democratic standards. INEC had earlier confirmed that 2.8 million voters are registered to participate in the election. The Anambra State governorship poll, one of Nigeria's off-cycle elections, is set to take place on Saturday, November 8, 2025. 16 political parties met the submission deadline of May 12 and will field candidates in the upcoming election. To end the Sapientia news at 1 p.m., a recap of the major headlines. The Enugu State Governor Peter Mbah has officially dumped the People's Democratic Party (PDP) for the All Progressives Congress (APC). The federal government has urged Nigerians to adopt proper hand-washing habits as a daily routine, describing it as a vaccine against sanitation and hygiene-related diseases. The Academic Staff Union of Universities ASUU has dismissed the federal government's no work, no pay directive, insisting that the union will not be intimidated by threats. And finally, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has accredited 121 domestic and international organizations to observe the Anambra State governorship election. That was the Sapientia TV news at 1 p.m. On behalf of the editorial and technical crew, I am Joe Igbo. Good afternoon and thanks for choosing TV Sapientia.